Hey Quilties, it's Karen Marchetti. This time on Dual Process, Jody Robinson and I are working on a double wedding ring. This one uses a solid wedding ring. So we both have a couple ideas for you. So let's get started. Hey guys, it's Karen. For my simple version, I want to keep it super simple. We're not ditching. We're just going to do like a nice continuous kind of loops. So let me see how thick my pen is. Yeah, that'll work. So I'm going to start over in this top corner and I'm just going to loop. And as I fill this section, I'll do bigger loops, little loops, and I'll stop here because I'm going to assume I can get about this much in a roll. We never know because it's just a drawing, but that's what I'm going to assume for my drawing. So then I'm going to loop back up here. And again, make the loops bigger to fill in that little melon shape. And I'll continue this across. Get over to here. Make them small again. So when I get up to this top corner, I'm going to sneak through over here and then just fill random loops in that background. And I kind of want them to be different sizes. It adds a little more visual interest. So just fill those in. And then I'm going to stitch down to here. I'm going to leave my needle down because what I'm going to do is now work on this section here. So I'm going to roll the quilt forward just a little bit to fill in that background section. So I'll fill in some loops here. Now we have two options here. We can just fill in this area and then tie off, or we can cut through here. I don't like to cut through because I like to keep that little square with just the cross curls, I guess you'd say they're called. Just leave the loops in there. So I'm going to tie off for each section. You can do it however you want to. This is just the way I'm choosing to do it. So I get down here, I'll tie off, and then I'll tie on over here, and I'll fill in this section. Up into those points. And it doesn't matter where you start and stop because you're tying off. So that's personal preference. I'm just going to come down here and I'll tie off. And again, I'll fill in this last one. And the loops are very forgiving. And then right down there. So then I'm going to do another partial roll for this section. So it's a bunch of little rolls, but it works for me. If you can fit more of this into your throat space, like if you can fit all of this, you could easily, let me change color just to show you. You could easily stitch all the way down this one, then all the way up this one, come back, and then do this section like that. It depends how big your throat space is, but I'm just going to assume we're doing one row at a time. So now I'll start here and I'll do those loops again, crossing through, and I'll keep doing this over to the other side. Whoops. Good thing we're just drawing and not stitching. Come down here. And your loops can be as crazy or as calm as you want them. Okay, my needle's down here. Knowing that I have to roll again, I may just roll to do this row and come back. So that would look like this. And again, I based my entire quilt before I start quilting so that I can roll, forward and backward as much as necessary. It just makes my life a little easier. So here's another option. If you had cut through your square, you could easily sneak over here, do this fill, and then sneak back. Depends on how you want to do it. I'm just going to tie off because it's not that hard. I'll fill in this section. Come up this side. Okay, so then I'll tie off and I'll roll it so that I can get this section done, and I'll fill in these two, and then I'll bring you back when I'm almost done. Okay, so this is where I ended. So what I'm going to do is sneak back up into here and fill these sections. So it's a lot of kind of partial rolling of moving that quilt around. Tie off, stitch in this one. I got a little messy there. So you're almost quilting a half a roll, I should say, not a half a row, a half a roll, because you have to roll it back and forth to fit it on there. And now we'll do this section. And then sneak over and then fill across this bottom section. Ooh, got a little tight in there. And that happens when I'm quilting too. Sneak over here, and then we'll finish this one up. Okay, so that is my simple version. I do want to show you if it's a little too, I call it poofy, you can go back in, or you could have done it as you quilted. Let me change colors. You could have, so when you did this section right here, makes it a little more complex, but then you could actually ditch around here and around here, and then do this one, and then add your loops, and do these loops over here, and then ditch around this one. And you can still do it continuous that way if you do the loops and then ditch each ring. Just another option for you. So I'll see you back here in a couple minutes.
Hi everyone, it's Jody. For my simple quilting plan for the double wedding ring solid ring, I'm going to do something that I actually have done on a quilt in the past, and it may seem surprising, but I feel like this version of a double wedding ring very often has a lot more modern feel to it. And so what I'm going to do is an all over quilting design. It is simple in that it's very easy to stitch. You will want to use a ruler, of course, because we're going to do kind of a chevron pattern on it. And I think that the texture works really well if you want a very simple, clean, modern look. It almost, to me, acts as a screen. You're going to look kind of right through the quilting. You see the texture of it, but it really does not in any way interfere with the actual piecing of the quilt. So what I'm going to do, and I would do this is exactly how I would quilt this, and I'm assuming that I can reach 2 rows of the blocks. And so what I'm going to do to start, because I want to do this large chevron that's going to cover the entire quilt top, I'm going to go ahead and use what I do have that's already there, and that is to stitch from corner to corner. Now granted, I'm going to apologize in advance, my lines are not going to be straight because I don't have a ruler. You would of course want to use a ruler so you had a nice straight line. So let me try that one more time. So my first thing would be, I'm going to start here. I'm going to use my ruler and I'm going to stitch from corner to corner and continue across just like this. So that really is the foundation for the rest of the quilting. Now I'm simply going to echo that line, both above it and below it. And knowing that I can only reach probably to here, I'll stop when I start to get there and then advance the quilt. So I probably would go ahead and just continue. And when I did this on a quilt in the past, I used 1-inch spacing. It was really nice, not too tight. These ones are, you know, you do have to kind of travel to get these little parts filled in that are on the top. And I'd scoot over to this next one and do the same thing here. Gosh, I wish I could make these nice and straight. And I'm going to continue this for the entire quilt. So at this point, I would just sneak over here and then pick up right here. And now I'm just going to continue with this echoing. And they're probably not going to be that well spaced because my drawing is not going to be that even. Travel down and just keep doing this in repetition, mostly paying attention to when you're going to get to where you can't reach anymore. It looks like we can probably get one more in here. So at this point, I would probably go ahead and stop, tie off. I'm going to advance the quilt. Now, we know that we can reach 2 rows of the blocks. So I'm going to advance the quilt, but being sure, because I know I need to reach into here. So I would generally probably just advance this so that I'm now going to be looking at this one and do the same thing, because I do need to come up to here and I won't be able to reach past this. So I would just advance and then go ahead and continue with this until I get to the point where I can't reach it anymore. Just keep going. Whoa, that one got a little crazy. So now I can see, so I'm at the bottom. I'm going to go ahead again and advance the quilt. And I should, because we now have the bottom 2 rows, be able to complete that. And of course, depending on the size machine that you stitch on, that might be different. Your space might be smaller, larger. So you would just accommodate that. And then when I get to the bottom here, I'll repeat exactly what I did at the top by filling in with echoes of those lines, exactly like I did on the top. So this is something that would go really fast. And again, I know sometimes a design like this, looking at it with this harsh color over top of the piecing, may look like you're not going to really see anything, but the texture and movement that you get is really great. So I hope you might give that a try, and I will see you back for my more complex design idea for this quilt. Bye.
Hey guys, it's Karen again, and it's time for the more complex version on this double wedding ring. So it's kind of similar to my last one, just there's a little bit of ruler work involved, and that's what makes it more complex. So, all right, let me get this set up. So I'm going to start up here, and I'm going to use a ruler and come down here, ditch inside this melon, cut through, and then echo that. And then I'm going to fill that with swirlies. You can fill it with whatever you want. I'm just doing swirlies. And then from here, I'm going to stitch out to here. And I'm going to repeat that this way. So I'm going to ditch around here, come back, come in a little bit, echo around, fill with swirls. And of course, I'm not the best screen drawer. I guess you'd say screen artist. There you go. I'm much better at stitching than drawing on a digital whiteboard. It is a very slippery drawing on the digital whiteboard. So have a little bit of forgiveness for those messy lines. So then again, down here, ditch the center of that melon, come in a little, echo, fill with your fill of choice, come out, do the last one, around the melon, come in, do the echo, fill with the swirlies. Whoops, I went too far on that one, that's okay. And then come out. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to ditch this side of the melon. Come down into here, come back out. Or I guess that's the ring now, not the melon. Whoops, see, I shouldn't talk and draw. Dangerous. Then I'm going to come back and fill this in with similar swirlies, or again, whatever fill you want to do. If you want to commit that whole thing to pebbles, you can fill the whole thing with pebbles. Whatever you're most comfortable doing. Cut back through here. Do some swirlies over here. Cut back around to make it look nice. And then I'll sneak off the quilt. Come down here. Again, we're going to have to do that partial roll just like that first one. So I'll come down here. And first I will do this ditching here. And then I'll fill in with my swirls. Again, we're going to do starts and stops. It's just the nature of the beast. So in here, I'll start right here so I can come up and ditch these rings. And then I'll fill in this center section. A little one over here. Okay, and then this last section, I'll ditch in there, come back. I should have started on the other side and then I could have left my needle down, but that's okay. So what I meant, when I started here and I stitched this and then I go back up, if I had started here, did my ditching, and then I would have did my fill down, I could have just left my needle down. You learn those little tricks the longer you quilt. So now I'll cut through and we'll roll it to here and we'll repeat that process. Straight line in, do the ditching of the melon, come in, do the echo, fill with the swirlies, straight out. Okay, so I'm going to keep doing this. I'll bring you back when I'm almost done. Okay, so now we're on that last section of the quilt. Again, come in and ditch the melon, do the echo, do the fill, and stitch out. And again, this would be using rulers, so it would be perfect and neat. You don't have to use a ruler, but I do. I can't be that perfect. I can't stay in the ditch, nor can I echo it without using a ruler. But again, that's what makes this more complex version. Just finish filling this in all the way out, and then we'll come back and ditch those last rings. And then do our fill across the bottom. And there you go. That is the more complex version. Hope you enjoy.
Hi, it's Jody again, and now we're going to go ahead and do a little more complex design idea for this double wedding ring with the solid rings. So the one difference on this one is that my simple design was an edge to edge, kind of an all over pattern, and this one's going to put different designs into each area section. The one thing I am going to do, because I'm assuming, of course, that these rings are, I'm guessing, like maybe 1 inch wide, and so that's how I kind of planned. If you were in fact quilting one of these quilts where those were pieced rings or maybe wider rings, you may want to add something to them. But if they're 1 inch, I'm going to go ahead and just leave them totally unquilted. I am, though, going to have to ditch all of these rings. So I would do that first. Now, you have a couple of options. You could kind of work your way through it. Like I could do this section, you know, advanced, like that. But the way I want to quilt it, that isn't going to work. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and do my ditching before I even start with any of the design work. Because what that is going to do is essentially baste it for you, kind of, but you're getting work done at the same time. So, and you can do this really nice and methodically. So you can go, I would just start here and just go like this. Whoop, make my thing a little bit too small. I'm going to just travel, because I can do it continuously, like this. And then I would come back like this. And I would do that for the, you know, I think here I can reach 2 rows, so I'm just going to go with that. And then at this point I would then tie off, advance the quilt, and repeat that on this bottom section. After I've ditched the entire thing, I'll go ahead and start rolling back through. Generally I like to work top to bottom, so for me I would probably roll all the way back to the top and then just go ahead and start again going through with the actual quilting designs. So I'm going to leave the ditch drawing off of there just so that it's a little easier to see the path that I'm taking. So I'm going to go ahead and start, because you know, for the top and the bottom we have these little half sections. So I'm going to go ahead and take care of that one little half section first. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to put, it's going to look like this in here with a leaf. So that means that for these top ones, I only need half of that. So I'm going to start in the corner, and each of these little blocks, I am going to put a little leaf. Then I'm going to travel over here. I'm going to do half of a leaf, a whole leaf, And I want a spine in the middle of these, so I'm going to go up and back down and then do this one. Then I'm going to sneak over to here, and as I'm going past, I'm going to go ahead and put those little leaves in these little squares. Then I'll continue, half a leaf, full leaf, up and back, this corner, another little leaf, and I'm going to go ahead and tie off, because I just find it, for me, sometimes it's really hard for me to work the design in reverse. So certainly I could start over here, but I just find it easier, and that's okay. I'm just going to go ahead and tie off. I'm going to start over here. So we're going to do the same thing. I'm going to go ahead and do half a leaf, whole leaf, half a leaf, and then I travel with this spine to here. I'm going to come in to the center to do my little leaves in the dark square. So there'll be 4, but as I do this first one, I'm going to go like this and stop at the top. This is where I can go ahead and ditch the inside of the ring, make it nice and continuous. And then I'm going to do a simple curl, a bigger curl, and add a leaf to kind of make it match with all the other leaves we have. And then I'll just ribbon this out back to the center, finish my little leaf, add the additional leaves. And I can see I already forgot one. I forgot to pause at the top of my little leaf here. Ditch this ring. Oop. Ah, it's so hard to draw. Do my ditch. Go ahead and do my little swirl, larger swirl, leave, ribbon down, and then travel right into this next leaf. So go ahead and do that, up and back. Not going to do the center on this one. Up and back, and then here, and then I'm going to travel, and that's how I get that spine in those additional 2. Come into the center, pause up here to do my little swirls, little leaf, ribbon out, finish my leaf. This one, oh, and I forgot to ditch that ring. Swirls, leave, ribbon out, finish these little leaves. At this point, I can do one. I could just go straight down to the bottom if I want. Do this leaf, and this leaf, and that finishes. Well, I guess I could. No, I'm going to leave it at that because I know that I can really only reach these 2 blocks. So if I start to do the other pass, I'll only be able to do half. So at this point, I'm going to go ahead and tie off, and I'll start again right here because I can reach 2 blocks, and that's going to allow me to get these other 2 sections. So again, we need our little leaves. I have to remember to pause right there, ditch this, and swirls. Leave, out, and travel. So I'm going to go down. Remember, I'm skipping that spine on those ones because I'm going to travel through right there to do it. Again, into the center, I can do my little leaves, ditch, curls, and back out, complete my leaf, this leaf, pause, stitch the ditch, back out, complete my leaf, travel. travel, little leave, pause there, stitch, curl, curl, and a leave. Ribbon back out, complete my leaves, and I would tie off. And then I'm going to go ahead and advance the quilt, and I'll repeat that same design on this last section. So that comes to the bottom of the quilt. Kind of looks awfully wobbly, but you will see on the drawing how it looks nice and clean and neat. And I mean, it's not a really tight quilting plan. You could, of course, possibly change yours up. One way might be to, instead of doing these little curls with the leaves in the melon shape, you may decide in there to put a fill, which would look very nice as well. Just depends on how densely you'd like your quilt top to be quilted. So I hope you guys like that, and I'll see you next time. Bye. Thanks so much for joining us. We hope that you have enjoyed today's designs, and be sure to join us for the next episode of Dual Process.